You cannot have a conversation about the WNBA unless you talk about
Caitlin Clark.
First thing that comes to mind. You're talking about Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
She is a phenom. She has exceeded everybody's expectations and created a whole firestorm within the WNBA. I have now exhausted all my WNBA knowledge.
I was going to say, I knew who you were talking about, and I'll tell you how much I watched the WNBA.
Yeah.
None. And I still know
share
her.
that, by the way.
Yeah.
We share that. Now, I feel like Denny Hamlin, in some ways, is Caitlin Clark without the three-point jumper. We can't hardly talk about what's going on in the NASCAR universe without mentioning Denny Hamlin. Here's the reason why. He's involved in every part of NASCAR right now. He got a huge fine for a technicality about a sealed engine being open. Probably put the torpedo in his playoff chances. He does religiously a podcast every week. Well done, well thought out. That takes time to do that sort of thing. By the way, he co-owns a team with Michael Jordan, maybe the most famous athlete ever to live on the planet. He is in an on-running feud with NASCAR. And last, certainly not least, he's trying to win races and a championship.
For a different team.
Yeah. For Joe Gibbs racing.
Yeah.
So, as my mother would say, he has a lot to say grace over. Mm-hmm. Brad, can he pray enough to be successful in all of these areas, or is Denny Hamlin finally stretched out?
Maybe he might be. I think he's done a really good job of being able to manage all areas, focus on the 11 car when that's his job, focus on the race team and all of that. But yeah, I think as a result, and I'm sure Kyle Petty could probably comment on this a little bit more, especially after Atlanta Motor Speedway. I think he also puts himself in a position where he overthinks a lot of things. I think he overthought Atlanta and ended up leaving there with 13 points. And I don't know what happened at Watkins Glen. I don't think that had anything to do with him, but I think he may overthink his way out of the playoffs, and that's a big possibility with an early exit.
What makes you think Kyle Petty's got an opinion on that?
Listen, and that is the perfect. I think that's the perfect way to put it. I think Brad just summed it up. He does overthink. He overthinks. He overanalyzes. Let's go back. The most famous thing for me is Denny sitting on the wall at Phoenix when he throws the water bottle after they've got a shot at the championship, whatever year that was, which seems like every year he's got a shot at the championship. But then they go into Homestead and he's killing it and runs up on a slow car and spins down the backstretch and takes themselves out of it at Homestead. Overthinking what he needed to do at that time. He didn't need to do what he did at that time. He didn't need to do at Atlanta what he did, but he thought he did. And I think that's the thing with Denny. Denny is such a phenomenal race car driver. Let's take out the podcast. Let's take out the ownership. Let's take out everything else. He is a Hall of Famer, first ballot, doesn't make any difference, should have been a champion multiple times. Is going to end up probably with 60 wins when it's all said and done, whatever. I mean, he's that guy. You can't take that away from it. At the same time, he's his own worst enemy in a lot of ways. He's his own competitor. He's his own biggest competitor, and it's in between his ears in a lot of cases. And I think we saw that at Atlanta, and I think we've seen it at other times in his career. This is not something new to Denny Hamlin.
I wonder if it's because he's been in that position so many times to win a championship and it hasn't happened. So he's thinking to himself, okay, I've been here before. I've tried to make it happen. It hasn't happened. What can I do differently? Yeah. How can I rethink what I'm doing to make what I want happen? And in that, scenario, he ends up overthinking what he's doing and putting, just kind of muddying the waters more than they need to be. But when you've been in that situation as many times as he has, and it hasn't gone the way you wanted it to go, you've got to be thinking, well, what am I doing wrong? What can I do differently?
That's his problem.
Yeah.
But that's his problem.
That is his problem.
He goes into a championship race against Jimmy Johnson, really after already losing it at Phoenix, to Kyle Petty's point before that. But it isolates himself from everyone. This is serious. Well, then that doesn't work. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to bring my entire entourage with me to Miami and we're going to party up. We're going to have a good time. That doesn't work. So then he goes in and says, I'm going to spend a winter time in Phoenix and I'm going to live there for a while and I'm just going to do everything like normal. That doesn't work. So then he thinks about something else and something else. Well, guess what the other champions have done, from Chase Elliott to Kyle Larson to Joey Logano to Kyle Busch to Kevin Harvick and so on? They've just gone in there and done what they know how to do, and that's win races and win a championship.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I think that's what
no.
he's doing for sure.
So here's the thing. So I took an online correspondence course in sports psychology. So let me.
How'd you do?
Did you get a little certificate in the mail?
I did as well as Denny has done running for a championship. Okay, no, but he is when they drop the green flag in Daytona. He is one of the most confident drivers you will sit down with. You guys talked to him before the season. It's a brand new season. It's a clean slate. And the confidence is so high. As we get to this point in the season, he has chipped away most of his confidence internally. I don't believe he believes in himself. It's like Brad said. And this is from the outside looking in. One of those guys who can get it done, he's got to go through himself to get it done, and he can't get around himself to get it done. And listen, he may go out and win the championship this year, and God help him, I hope he does, because he deserves so much for what he's done. But at the same time, it's like Brad said, he's knocked on every door at the hotel, and they won't let him in any of the rooms to get that championship trophy. He just keeps trying something new.
I feel like he has just spread so thin. And we went down the list of things that he's involved in. He has his hands on so many buttons that he doesn't know where it is. I'll do a history lesson real quick. The British had the best army in the world for centuries. They tried to conquer all of Africa. They tried to defeat the Zulus. The Zulus were armed with spears. The British had machine guns, Gatling guns, repeating rifles. They lost because the Zulus said, we're going to put more people in one spot than you can cover. And the British were trying to keep all their colonies intact, and the Zulus overwhelmed them. Biggest loss ever for the British Empire. The British Empire is Denny Hamlin. Yeah. He is spread out so thin that he can't muster enough critical mass in one place to get a win.
You know, the thing you forgot to mention in all those things that he's got going on, he's also a dad.
Yeah.
He's got that going on. He's got, all of those things in his professional life, but you don't even touch on the things that are happening, in his personal life as well, which have got to be part of the puzzle as well. So, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And listen, I will say this from just personal experience, from driving for Felix and then starting my own team. And then if you look, and I was never the greatest driver in the world. That's not what I'm saying. But if you look from the time I started my own team to starting a team for Adam, to going back and running petty enterprises and hiring drivers and trying to look after stuff, my career fell off a cliff. I mean, I just showed up at racetracks because you were worried about sponsorship. You were worried about who was going to be a crew chief, who you were going to hire. And it's not that it took tons of time. It was just that little bug in your ear. It was that little something else is buzzing. There's another noise there. And to be a Jeff Gordon, to be a Jimmy Johnson, to be today a Joey Logano, you can't have that outsized noise.
He also built a brand new race shop during all this time, too. That alone, that one project is enough to occupy all your time. I find Denny Hamlin extremely fascinating. When we get our chance to interview the drivers, I always look forward to him coming in. He's going to bring in an insight, but sometimes I think his in-depth thinking is maybe his undoing, like Brad Gillis said.
I told him in Atlanta, I said, listen, I'm a huge fan of your podcast. I listen to it every week because he does give you some insight, and he does give you a different way of thinking about stuff. And that's what's so cool about him. And the big picture of who Denny Hamlin is he will give you a different way. We're looking at him as a driver a totally different way than what we're going to sit here and talk about Kyle Larson. You know what I mean? Kyle Larson, I tell you what, he's got too much on the plate. He's running too many sprint car races. He's doing all this. But you know what he's doing? He's racing. Mm-hmm. And when he gets in that cup car, he's racing. That's it.